Welcome to another edition of the Noles podcast. I am your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my content comes from me, in my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. Great win against Syracuse last week. It was almost a complete game. I thought there was a little lull and focus and motivation in that game. Again, Jordan Travis, I feel like, is trying to make a big play on every play. I just think that he needs to work on that. Because if you try to do that against the really good teams, that's going to get you beat. So, Mike Norvell has said it a number of times. Take what the defense gives you. I can't emphasize that point enough. I feel like, this defense is playing very well. So punting or throwing the ball away, that's not a bad play. You want to have as many, scores as possible, but sometimes the defense wins. And sometimes you have to just play smart football. And, when the quarterback touches the ball on pretty much every play, and we just need him to make better decisions when in those type of situations. This Duke team, this isn't your daddy's Duke team from, 20, 25 years ago. This Duke team right here is legit. Physical, athletic, and if Florida State comes out there half-stepping, they can get embarrassed. So I just really, this might be the hardest game left on the schedule, because Miami are who we thought they were. They start out hot every year, then they lose a game that they're not supposed to lose, and then their season just goes down the toilet. We've seen this the last 3-4 years now where they've done this. We know when they play Florida State, they're going to get hyped for us. So, we fully expect that, But I just feel like this Duke game, this Duke team is probably the hardest remaining game on the schedule. If we can get past Duke, I think we got a chance to be very special. Louisville lost they got throttled by Pittsburgh, which I didn't see that coming. I thought when they beat Notre Dame, I thought, okay, Louisville's got a chance. But the way it's looking now, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, is it looks like it's going to be Florida State and North Carolina in the ACC championship. That's what it looks like. Now, this thing can go either way. We got 6 more games to go. And this season goes so fast. It's you just blink and you halfway through the season. I just hate how fast it goes, man. But a very physical, very athletic, very well coached Duke team. And they scare me. And the crazy thing about this is that my high school team lost to a great defensive team. My 49ers lost to a pretty good defensive team. And this Duke team is pretty good on defense. So, I'm definitely, the antennas are definitely up right now as far as, what could potentially happen this weekend. So, the only questions, again, that I have about Florida State is focus, motivation, and the quarterback not trying to make a big play on every play. By all means, if the big play is there, take it. If it's not, throw the ball away, check it down, just don't do anything that's going to get us beat. Don't be the reason that we get beat, is basically what I'm saying. Don't be the reason why we get beat. And I think, like I said, we get past Duke, we got a chance to be very special. Trey Benson, this is going to be a physical game. Let's just go ahead and say that right now. This is going to be a hard-hitting, physical game. This is not Duke from 20 years ago. This is a much different Duke team. They're going to come out. They're going to try to run the football and be physical. Okay? Their defense is going to try to stop the run. They're probably going to put 8 in the box and play man-to-man against them receivers, against Keon Coleman. And that's what, but if you're going to do that, you're going to have to pick your poison. You want to play one-on-one with Coleman? Or you want to just leave 7 in the box to contend with Benson? So, I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say 24-17 Florida State. I think at the end of the day, we have more talent. I think the coaching might be, I give Norvell the slight edge on coaching. Okay. I like that the defense is blitzing more and challenging offenses to make a play. Our DBs, Cypress and Green, have played pretty well. Noles also. Number 38 has played pretty good. And we just have a wealth of riches on this team. Destin Hill, I said last week, is destined to be a great player, pun intended. Hakeem Williams, he caught that touchdown. He is as advertised. He's going to be a big time talent. Okay, to be 6'4", a man his size, and he can move like that, that's uncanny. And so, with Wilson being out in that game, you got to see more of Destin Hill and Hakeem Williams. The future is bright. The future is very bright for Florida State. So, again, I told you my favorite player on this team is Rodney Hill, the running back, number 29. I love his running style, very physical. Tua Philly is running between the tackles more. He's more physical. He had a long run. I mean, we've always known that he was a home run threat. So it was nice to see him get out there and, make plays. But this game definitely scares me. I just hope that Mike Norvell presses the right buttons during practice this week, get these guys locked in. And again, I'll say it, if we can beat this Duke team, we've got a chance to be special, because nobody else on the schedule really scares me. I mean, it's football, anything can happen. But, the Florida Gators don't scare me and the Miami Hurricanes don't scare me. We know those are rivalry games, and you can pretty much throw the records out of the window when we play those teams. But I think Florida State, for those games, are going to be hyped. So, and I still think it's going to be close in those games. But, it's just a tremendous feeling to be a Florida State football fan at this point in time, to be relevant. I can't really put it into words. I've been following this team for pretty much my whole life. So I really did not experience any type of drop off until the mid-2000s. And that was just like the Bobby Bowden down years was just like, I just thought the world was coming to an end. Then we went through the saga the last several years, and to come back to where we are now, number 4 in the country, top 5, competing for an ACC championship potentially, and making it to the playoff and competing for a national championship. So, kudos to Mike Norvell. He said in the beginning how he was going to build his program. I didn't believe. I will admit that, and I will eat crow. Will gladly eat crow. I was wrong. And whatever happens this season, we're certainly headed in the right direction. So, thank God for the transfer portal. I think success would have taken longer if we didn't have the transfer portal. Certainly success would have taken longer if we didn't have the transfer portal. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the players that transferred in, and still, Florida State has some cachet out there. So I just think 6 games left. This is the hardest game on the schedule, but we're not going to discount Miami and Florida. Certainly, if we don't come out there and handle business against those 2 teams, this season could be a disappointment. Duke is 5-1, with their only loss coming to Notre Dame, which is a good loss because Notre Dame beat the wheels off of USC. They're multiple on offense. They're 4-2-5 on defense. They're well coached. If Florida State comes in here half-stepping, this can be a very difficult game. I'm really anxious to see it. It's a primetime game. I don't know if the 2 main guys who do Saturday college football are going to be on the call, but it would seem like they would be. So I'm just real anxious to, see. I think this is the hardest team left on the schedule. Like I said earlier in the podcast. I watched them destroy Clemson. I watched the Notre Dame game, which was a hard-fought game. I think the game is going to be like that. I watched them play NC State, which was a pretty good game. So this, like I said before, this isn't your dad's Duke Blue Devils. This is a different program. They've rebuilt the team through the transfer portal. Mike Elko has selected really good players, and this is why I love the transfer portal. Teams like Duke and Oregon State can rise. That's what I love about it. So, if we can beat Duke, if we beat Duke, again, let me emphasize this point home. I think we have a chance to be really, really special. Now, is Riley Leonard playing? That's really the question. But the backup, the black quarterback, the backup, Beelan, redshirt freshman, he's pretty good too. He really showed me something against NC State. Their defensive tackle, Dwayne Carter, is a problem. Okay. And, he's going to be going against Maurice Smith and probably our 2 guards. So I'm nervous about that matchup. I mean, Dwayne Carter, very good player, redshirt senior, 6'3", 305. He's a problem. Okay. If our offensive line ain't coming with the pain, this guy could have a great day. So it's really gonna be a test of our offensive line to see if we can hold up against a player of this caliber. He's a potential late first round pick, in my opinion, just from watching him against Clemson, Notre Dame, and NC State. He has that potential. So it's just going to be really interesting to see what Mike Norvell cooks up. I hope they don't start doing that tunnel screen stuff. I love the traditional screens, the Tua Philly. I think you're going to have to use Jordan Travis's legs a little bit more in this type of game. This is going to be a physical game. Okay? This isn't going to be, LSU where it was just, LSU was kind of physical, but from the games that I've watched of the Duke Blue Devils, they're a very physical, hard-nosed, athletic, well-coached team. I'm not trying to write them off as some kind of blue-collar, overachieving team. They're very athletic. They have players. Okay? They have players. And if Florida State doesn't bring the A-plus game, this could be a long night. So, like I said before, focus, motivation, and the quarterback doing the right thing with the football at all times. I don't think in this type of game you can afford to have any kind of slippage at all with this type of team. They're well coached. They're a very well coached team. They've only lost to Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is a pretty good football team. So, I'm scared, dog. I'm just going to be real about it. All my teams have lost to teams that's like Duke. Very well coached, very good defense. They're running that 4-2-5. So, Keon Coleman is probably going to be the X factor in this game. I want to see more of Hakeem Williams and Destin Hill. If Johnny Wilson can't go, Hakeem Williams is, like I said, man, he is as advertised. The way he broke away on that touchdown, I don't know if the Syracuse players just gave up, but he's got some wheels. So, 6'4", I believe 200 pounds, big guy. So I'm really interested to see what Mike Norvell is going to cook up. I think it's going to be tough to run the football. I think you're going to have to get creative in that respect. But I think, again, like I said earlier, it's going to be like 24-17. I don't see Florida State blowing this team out. This to me, Duke to me is the third best team in the ACC. Florida State, North Carolina, then Duke. Then you could say Louisville. Then probably Clemson this year. So I just, what Duke is going to do. They're going to run the football. They're multiple on offense. They're going to throw the ball. If Riley Leonard is playing, he's going to run the football. Their defense is, again, well coached. Mike Elko is a defensive guru. So, Mike Norvell's going to have to pull some new stuff out of the hat. Okay? I'm still waiting for that formation where you put the tight end in the backfield and you run the sweep off of that, out of that formation. I thought against LSU, that was a very productive formation. So I would love to see that in this game because this to me, again, this is the hardest remaining game on the schedule. I know you still got Miami, who is declining. You still got Florida, which is there. I think I would say they're in purgatory. They're just there. They just got lucky that South Carolina is not a very good football team, and they let Florida come back. I think we can beat both of those teams. I don't think focus and motivation is going to be a problem in those two games. But this type of game, you can't go out there with the attitude that we're Florida State and our stuff doesn't stink. We have to go out there, and just play like it's the national championship. Every game is a national championship from this point on. Every game. You have to treat every game like that. And if we do, I think that we can really make a run here. I think earlier in this podcast, I said that the Duke NC State game was a pretty good game. I said when I said that, it was basically saying it was a pretty good game for Duke. And every game that Duke has played, they've pretty much dominated the other teams, except for the Notre Dame game. And that was 21-14. So Florida State really got their hands cut out for. I mean, their work cut out for them. You can't go into this game half-stepping. I would venture to say that this game is just as big, if not bigger, than the LSU game. I think if this was Clemson with a 5-1 record and they lost to Notre Dame 21-14, I think this would be a top 10 matchup. I think Duke is not getting any respect because it's Duke football. And just traditionally, nobody respects Duke football. But give Elko credit. He has went in there and built a winner. So, if Riley Leonard doesn't get hurt in that game, who knows? I think it was more toward the end of the game that he got hurt, but I think you can definitely pull some stuff from that Notre Dame tape. I think even in the Clemson game, I want to say that Clemson outgained them in yardage. But Duke the ball bounced their way, and Duke just took advantage of their opportunity. So, it's a combination of luck and being well coached. And Mike Norvell this week has to really be on his game because, like I've been saying, this is a well-coached, athletic, smart team. They're not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to go out there and, put a good 60 minutes on tape for these guys or on the field for those guys. So, like I said, it's a game that scares me. It's kind of like the Cleveland-San Francisco game. It's kind of looking like that. So I'm just hoping that we can dominate. I'm never gonna say just win the game. I want to dominate, but I still think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be like the Notre Dame game. 21-14, 24-17, something like that, 24-20, something like that. I think it's going to be a close, competitive game. I don't think they've got anybody that can check Keon Coleman. If Johnny Wilson plays, I don't think they got anybody that can check him. I like Destin Hill. I like Hakeem Williams. I like all our receivers. So, it's just... And I definitely want to see more of Marquiston Douglas in a lead blocking role. I like Jaheim Bell as he's a serious weapon. I don't think he's a great blocker. He's just good enough as a blocker. I like number 84. I think he's a nice receiver. So we have a multitude of weapons. But I think this is the type of game where you have to come out and establish the run. And I really feel like Marquiston Douglas needs to reassume that role as the lead blocker. I don't know why they're not doing that. I really don't know why they're not doing that. Because they did it in the Oklahoma game, in the bowl game. And it just amazes me that I like the single back stuff, but if you can basically almost dominate on the ground with the lead blocker, why not just get the lead blocker? Defensively, it just depends on who's playing. If the redshirt freshman Beelan is playing, blitz him. If Riley Leonard is playing, you're going to have to be a little bit more cautious in what you're doing because very smart quarterback, very athletic quarterback. I know he's coming off the injury. So you have to be, when you're playing against Riley Leonard, you have to be very smart with your blitzes. So Riley Leonard is going to play in this game. And hopefully Florida State has been preparing for Riley Leonard. I just don't think you could go out there with Beelan. He was 4 of 12 in the NC State game. So, I mean, that changes the whole dynamic of what you're going to do. Duke is a very good football team, man. In all phases of the game. This is going to be our hardest game of the season. I would venture to say that this game is going to be harder than the LSU game. Because Duke doesn't beat themselves. You're going to have to really, hit these guys for 60 minutes to beat them. It's just that simple. And like I said, this team, to me, is 6-0 based on talent. They're 6-0 based on talent. I don't think they're 6-0 based on we gonna just line up and destroy you. I don't think this Florida State team has that mentality. Now, 10 years ago, that 2013 team with Jameis Winston and all those guys, Mario Edwards and all those other guys, that team just said, okay, we're more talented, we're more physical, we're better, and we're gonna come out and we're gonna punch you in the face every game. I don't see that mentality on this team. And I think the only time that I have seen it is the LSU game. But even then you gave up, I want to say 24 points in that game. So I just really feel like, it's going to be a close game. I think this team is going to rise to the occasion. I think they're going to win this game, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think Florida State has the more talented team, but I think they're reading a lot of their press clippings right now. That's just my opinion. I don't know this for a fact because, like I said, I don't see the sense of urgency to win from the very beginning of the game. So I think when you don't have that sense of urgency to come out and dominate, you give the opponent the confidence slowly but surely that, hey, we can play with these guys. I think that's what Duke did in the Clemson game. I think Duke was a little tentative at the beginning. Then, Clemson wasn't making any plays. I thought Clemson came in there and thought, hey, this is Duke. We're going to roll over these guys. And then before you know it, it's 28-7. So I just, if I'm the head coach, I'm telling this team, like, from the moment the ball is kicked off, you got to punch Duke in the face the whole game. You cannot let up until the game is over. This team is looking for an opening. This team is trying to create a opening. Okay? They're very talented, very athletic, very well coached, and they have confidence. And they're coming out and they're going to try to dominate you. I don't question any toughness about Duke at all. Okay, I don't think Riley Leonard is going to be as mobile as he usually is. Okay, with that injury. I knew when they sat him down, last week for the NC State game. Well, I think he's been out the last 2 games. But I knew they was prepping him for Florida State. Pretty much. So, Florida State's got their hands full, man. So we're going to see what happens on Saturday. That concludes this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It's available on YouTube. It's available on all podcast platforms. As always, Go Noles.